My beloved child, I see the war you have been fighting in silence. I see the way you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. I see the way your mind refuses to rest, replaying old wounds, whispering worst-case scenarios, bracing for another blow. You have been strong for so long, strong for everyone else, strong when you wanted to fall apart, strong when you felt like no one truly understood the weight pressing against your chest. And somewhere deep inside you began to wonder, will this ever end? You have carried battles that no one applauded you for. You have smiled while storms raged inside you. You have fought thoughts that tried to convince you that you were not enough, not worthy, not seen. But I tell you now, my beloved child, this moment is not random. You are not listening to these words by accident. You are here because your battle has reached its final hour. I know how long it has been. I know how many times you told yourself, just one more day. Just hold on a little longer. I know the nights when tears fell quietly onto your pillow. I know the prayers you whispered when your voice felt too weak to speak loudly. I know the questions you asked me when it seemed like heaven was silent. You thought you were fighting alone. You thought this struggle was yours to carry forever. But listen closely to me now. The battle you've been fighting ends here. Not next year. Not someday in the distant future. You. Now, in this very moment, something shifts. The weight you have been dragging behind you is not meant to follow you into your next season. The anxiety that has been whispering threats over your future does not have permission to stay. The fear that has tried to make a home in your heart is being uprooted. You have reached the edge of your endurance, and you thought that meant you were about to break. But I tell you, reaching the end of yourself is not destruction. It is surrender into my strength. You were never meant to win this war by yourself. You were never meant to carry armor that does not fit your shoulders. My beloved child, the fight has exhausted you because it was never yours to sustain. And now, I'm stepping forward in a way you will unmistakably see. The storm that has circled your life is losing its power. The accusations in your mind are losing their volume. The heaviness in your spirit is beginning to crack. This is your turning point. This is where striving ends and peace begins. This is where fear meets its limit. I am drawing a line in the sand around your life, and what has tormented you cannot cross it. Breathe, my child. Feel that small flicker of hope rising again. That is not your imagination. That is me. And I am telling you with unwavering love and authority, the battle you've been fighting ends here. My beloved child, before you take another step forward, I need you to understand something that will settle deep into your bones. Not one tear you have cried has been wasted. Not one trembling breath has gone unnoticed. Not one silent sob in the dark has escaped my sight. You may have felt invisible in your pain. You may have believed that your suffering was too small for anyone to care about, or too complicated for anyone to understand. But I have seen it all. I have watched you hold yourself together in rooms where you felt like you were falling apart inside. I have seen you excuse yourself just to breathe through the pressure. I have seen you wipe your eyes quickly so no one would ask questions you didn't have the strength to answer. When you thought no one knew how much it hurt, I knew. There were nights when your tears fell without sound. You stared at the ceiling, exhausted not from physical labor, but from emotional survival. Your mind ran in circles. Regret. Fear. What ifs? You wondered if you were failing. You wondered if you were disappointing me. You wondered if you were simply too broken to be fixed. My beloved child, I was closer than your next breath. I sat with you in that darkness. When your heart pounded with anxiety, I was steady. When your thoughts accused you, I whispered truth. Even when you could not feel me, even when my presence seemed distant, I had not moved an inch away from you. I was collecting every tear as if it were precious, because to me it is. You measure strength by how well you endure without crying, but I measure strength by your willingness to keep loving, keep hoping, and keep trying even while tears are falling. You thought your tears were a sign of weakness. I tell you, they were proof that your heart is still alive. There were moments when you almost gave up. You stood at the edge of quitting the dream, quitting the relationship, quitting on yourself. But something inside you would not let you walk away. You called it stubbornness. You called it survival instinct. That was me, gently holding you upright when your knees were shaking. I have seen the prayers you never finished, the sentences that dissolved into silence because you were too tired to explain, the whispered help me that felt so small compared to the size of your problems. My child, those 2 words were enough. They always are. You have asked me, why did you let me go through this? And I understand the ache behind that question. But even in the hardest chapters, I was not absent. There were dangers you never saw because I stood between you and them. There were breakdowns that could have destroyed you, but I softened the impact. There were outcomes that could have been far worse, yet I redirected them quietly. You may not see the full picture yet. That is all right. You are not required to understand everything in order to be loved completely. Hear me clearly now. Your pain did not repel me. It drew me closer. Your confusion did not frustrate me. It moved my heart toward you. Your doubts did not disqualify you. They invited my reassurance. Every tear was a prayer in liquid form. Every sigh was a signal that your soul still longed for relief. And I have been answering, even when the answer came slowly, even when it came in ways you did not expect. My beloved child, you are not invisible. You have never been forgotten. The very fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still seeking hope is evidence of my hand on your life. Let this truth anchor you. I have seen every tear, and I have been working through every one of them. What felt like endless weeping is not the end of your story. It is the soil where new strength is forming. It is the place where compassion is growing in you. It is where your future testimony is being written. You did not cry alone, and you will not rise alone either. My beloved child, I know that at times this battle has felt like it was sent to erase you. There were days when the pressure was so intense that you wondered if you would come out of it the same person. You feared that something inside you was breaking beyond repair. But listen to me carefully now. This battle was never designed to destroy you. It was shaping you. When gold is placed in fire, it does not understand the flames. It does not see the hands that carefully control the heat. All it feels is intensity. All it knows is discomfort. Yet the fire is not there to consume the gold. It is there to remove what does not belong. It is there to reveal purity that could not be seen before. In the same way, what you have walked through has not been a punishment. It has been a refining. I do not delight in your pain. I am not a father who watches suffering with indifference. But I am a father who sees beyond the present moment. I see who you are becoming. I see the strength forming in places where insecurity once ruled. I see resilience growing where fear once had control. You may feel worn, but you are not ruined. Think about who you were before this battle began. You were hopeful, yes. You were loving, yes. But you were also unsure of how much you could endure. You did not know the depth of your own courage. You did not know that you could survive disappointment and still keep your heart open. You did not know that you could be shaken and still choose to stand. Now you know. The very fact that you are still here, still listening, still breathing with a flicker of hope in your chest is proof that the battle did not win. It tried to intimidate you. It tried to convince you that you were too fragile. It tried to label you as defeated. But you are not defeated, my beloved child. You are being strengthened. There were moments when you felt like you were losing everything. Plans changed. Libel walked away. Expectations crumbled. You looked at the pieces of what once felt secure and wondered how anything good could come from the wreckage. But what you saw as an ending, I saw as a clearing. What you experienced as loss, I was quietly preparing a space. You thought the shaking meant collapse. In truth, it was making room. I have been building something deeper within you, something that cannot be taken away by circumstances. A peace that is not dependent on everything going right. A confidence that does not vanish when someone misunderstands you. A trust that stands firm even when answers are delayed. The battle exposed your fears. Yes, it exposed your doubts. It revealed wounds that had been hidden for years. But exposure is not destruction. Exposure is the first step toward healing. What remains hidden cannot be restored. And so, gently but firmly, I allowed light to touch places you had buried. You are not weaker because you struggle. You are wiser. You are not damaged because you felt overwhelmed. You are human, and you are growing. My beloved child, destruction leaves nothing standing. But look at you. You are still standing. You may feel bruised, but you are breathing. You may feel tired, but you are not gone. The enemy of your peace wanted you to believe that this was the end of your strength. Instead, it has become the birthplace of a strength you never knew you possessed. This battle was not sent to end you. It was allowed to reveal you. And what is being revealed is not fragility. It is endurance. It is depth. It is compassion. It is courage refined by fire. Trust me in this. The flames did not consume you because my hand was over you. And what emerges from this season will carry a clarity, a humility, and a quiet power that could not have been formed any other way. You are not being destroyed, my beloved child. You are being transformed. My beloved child, I need to speak gently to the place in you that feels ashamed for being exhausted. You have carried so much for so long that weariness has settled into your bones. And somewhere along the way, you began to believe that being tired meant you were failing. You told yourself that if you were stronger, you would not feel this drained. If you had more faith, you would not struggle like this. But hear me clearly. You are not weak for feeling tired. Even the strongest hearts grow weary when they have been fighting without rest. Even the bravest souls feel the weight of constant pressure. Fatigue is not a flaw in you. It is a signal that you have been enduring more than most people realize. You wake up already bracing for the day. Your mind begins running before your feet even touch the floor. Responsibilities, expectations, memories, worries about what can go wrong. You have been living in a quiet state of alertness, as if something might collapse if you let your guard down. That kind of living drains the spirit. And yet, you have judged yourself for it. You have whispered, "Why can't I just handle this better?" You have compared yourself to others who seem unshaken. You have pushed yourself past your limits because you thought slowing down meant surrender. But my beloved child, rest is not surrender. It is wisdom. I did not design you to operate without pause. I did not create your heart to carry endless strain. You were made for rhythms, moments of effort, and moments of restoration. When you ignore your need for rest, you are not proving strength. You are ignoring your humanity. Come closer and listen. I am not disappointed in your exhaustion. I am moved by it, because it tells me how hard you have been trying. It tells me how deeply you care. It tells me that you have been showing up, even when your energy was low. There were days when you fulfilled your responsibilities with a smile while internally you felt like collapsing. There were conversations you carried while your heart was aching. There were decisions you made while your mind felt foggy from stress. And still you showed up. That is not weakness. That is perseverance. But perseverance without rest becomes depletion. I do not ask you to prove your worth through endless striving. You do not earn my love by exhausting yourself. You do not secure your future by overthinking every outcome. The world may demand constant output from you, but I am not the world. I am your father. Let me ask you something gently. What would happen if you allowed yourself to admit that you are tired? Not as a confession of failure, but as an honest truth. What if you stopped fighting your fatigue and instead brought it to me? You fear that if you stop pushing, everything will fall apart. But what if I am strong enough to hold what you release? What if the weight you refuse to set down is one I have been waiting to carry for you? My beloved child, exhaustion is not a verdict over your life. It is an invitation. An invitation to lean. An invitation to trust. An invitation to breathe again without bracing for impact. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine setting down a heavy bag you have been dragging behind you. Feel the relief in your shoulders. Feel the space in your chest. That relief is not imaginary. It is available to you. You do not have to fight every battle at full volume. You do not have to anticipate every problem. You do not have to prove that you can endure without help. I am your help. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are human. And you are loved in your humanity. Bring me your exhaustion. Bring me your overwhelmed thoughts. Bring me the version of you that does not have it all together. I am not asking you to be unbreakable. I am asking you to be honest. And in your honesty, you will find that I am already there, steady and strong, ready to give your weary soul the rest it has been longing for. My beloved child, now that you have allowed yourself to admit your weariness, I want to gently uncover something deeper. The battle you have been fighting is not truly against your circumstances. It is not ultimately about the job, the relationship, the finances, or the uncertainty of tomorrow. Those are the visible layers. But beneath them, there has been a quieter enemy at work. The real enemy has been the voice that whispers when everything gets still. It is the voice that says you are not enough. The voice that tells you that you will always struggle like this. The voice that replays your past mistakes and magnifies them until they feel like your identity. It is the voice that predicts failure before you even begin. It is the voice that questions whether you are truly loved, truly secure, truly seen. That voice is not me. I do not speak to you in accusations. I do not remind you of your past to shame you. I do not plant fear in your heart about your future. When I correct you, it is gentle. When I guide you, it is steady. When I speak truth, it brings clarity, not chaos. But fear has learned how to mimic urgency. Anxiety disguises itself as responsibility. Doubt pretends to be wisdom. And slowly, over time, you began to mistake these intrusions for your own thoughts. You thought the constant self-criticism was maturity. You thought the constant worry was preparation. You thought the heaviness was simply who you are. My beloved child, that heaviness has been lying to you. Fear tells you that if you relax, everything will fall apart. I tell you that your life is not held together by your anxiety. Doubt tells you that you are behind everyone else. I tell you that your path is uniquely timed and intentionally crafted. Shame tells you that your mistakes define you. I tell you that your growth defines you. The real battle has been over your mind. Imagine a small seed planted in soil. If that seed is watered daily, it grows. In the same way, every time you entertain the thought that you are inadequate, it grows roots. Every time you replay worst-case scenarios, those scenarios feel more real. Every time you speak harshly to yourself, that inner critic grows stronger. But here is the truth. Lies only thrive when they go unchallenged. Today, I am challenging them. You are not as fragile as fear suggests. You are not as incapable as doubt insists. You are not as unworthy as shame tries to convince you. These voices have been loud, yes, but loud does not mean true. The enemy behind your battle has tried to exhaust you mentally so that you would surrender emotionally. It has tried to keep you in a cycle of overthinking so that you would never experience peace. It has tried to convince you that the struggle is permanent. But I am interrupting that narrative. From this moment forward, when fear begins to whisper, I want you to pause. When doubt tries to replay its script, I want you to question it. Ask yourself, is this voice speaking life? Or is it speaking limitation? Because I speak life. I speak courage into your hesitation. I speak stability into your confusion. I speak assurance into your uncertainty. The battle has felt so intense because it has been internal, and no one else could see it, and no one else could hear the arguments inside your mind. But I have heard every word, and I am not intimidated by them. My beloved child, you do not have to believe every thought that enters your head. You have authority over what you allow to stay. You have permission to reject what does not align with truth. You are not fighting your circumstances alone. You are reclaiming your mind. And as truth begins to replace fear, as light begins to expose the lies, you will notice something shifting inside you. The heaviness will begin to lift. The constant tension will begin to loosen. Because once the root is addressed, the fruit begins to change. The real enemy behind the battle has been deception. But deception cannot survive in the presence of truth. And I am truth, my beloved child. My beloved child, there were moments in this battle when you truly believed you were alone. You looked around and saw no visible help. You prayed and did not immediately see change. You waited and wondered if anyone was moving on your behalf. In those quiet stretches, it felt as though you were standing on a battlefield with no reinforcement, no shield, but your own fragile strength. But what you could not see, I was already doing. While you were losing sleep, I was guarding your future. While you were questioning your worth, I was arranging protection around you. While you were bracing for impact, I was standing between you and forces that would have crushed you completely. Let me tell you a story so you can understand this more clearly. Imagine a small child walking beside their father through a crowded street. The child sees the noise, the movement, the unpredictability of everything around them. What the child does not see is the father's hand subtly guiding them away from danger. The father notices the speeding bicycle before the child does. He sees the uneven pavement before the child stumbles. He adjusts their path without making a scene, shielding them without announcing it. The child might think, I made it through on my own. But the father knows how many collisions were prevented. That has been your life. There were conversations that could have escalated into greater harm, but I softened hearts. There were opportunities that seemed promising but would have led to deeper pain, and I closed those doors. You called it bad timing. You called it disappointment. You called it rejection. but I was redirecting you. There were moments when you were one decision away from something that would have delayed your healing for years. And I stirred discomfort in you so that you would pause. You thought the hesitation was fear. It was protection. My beloved child, you only see the battles you face. You do not see the ones I prevented. There were unseen dangers circling you. There were words spoken about you that could have wounded you deeply, yet they lost their power before they reached you. There were plans forming that were not aligned with your destiny, and I dismantled them quietly. You felt like you were barely surviving. But survival was not the full story. You were being defended. Even in your lowest moments, when you felt spiritually dry, when you questioned whether I was near, I had not stepped away. I do not abandon my children in the heat of their struggle. I move closer. You may ask, if you were fighting for me, why did it still hurt? Because protection does not mean the absence of all pain. It means the prevention of destruction. The pain you experienced shaped you. The devastation you feared would consume you never came. That is not coincidence. When you broke down and thought you could not stand again, something lifted you. When you reached the edge of despair, something pulled you back. You thought it was resilience. You thought it was sheer willpower. But it was my hand steadying you. I was fighting battles in places you could not see. I was silencing accusations before they took root. I was restraining outcomes that would have overwhelmed you. I was orchestrating timing in ways your mind could not yet comprehend. My beloved child, you have never been unprotected. Even now, as you listen to my voice, there are things aligning in your favor. There are shifts happening beyond your awareness. There are answers forming before the questions even fully surface. The battlefield felt lonely because you could not see me moving. But I was there in every moment. When you cried, I was present. When you doubted, I remained steady. When you nearly gave up, I strengthened your grip. You have not survived this far by accident. You were defended. And as this battle comes to its end, you will begin to recognize just how much I have been fighting for you all along. My beloved child, now that you are beginning to see that you were never alone, I want you to look at yourself with new eyes. This battle did not leave you the same. It changed you. And though some of those changes felt painful, they are not all losses. Many of them are growth. Before this season, you measured strength by how easy life felt. You believed peace meant the absence of trouble. You thought confidence meant never doubting yourself. But now you understand something deeper. Strength is continuing when things are uncertain. Peace is choosing trust in the middle of chaos. Confidence is standing even when your voice trembles. You have learned how to sit with discomfort without running from it. That is growth. You have learned how to feel disappointment without letting it define you. That is maturity. You have learned how to endure silence and still believe that I am speaking. That is faith being strengthened. This battle stretched you. There were days when you felt exposed, when your weaknesses seemed more visible than your abilities. You saw parts of yourself you did not like: impatience, fear, insecurity. You wondered why those flaws surfaced so strongly. But what you saw as failure was actually revelation. You cannot heal what you refuse to see. Now you are more aware of your triggers. You recognize when fear begins to creep in. You can sense when your thoughts start spiraling. That awareness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It means you are no longer unaware of the patterns that once controlled you. You are more compassionate now, too. Because you know what it feels like to fight silent battles. You look at others differently. You are slower to judge. You are quicker to listen. You understand that someone smiling may still be struggling. Your pain has softened you in ways comfort never could. And yes, you have scars. But scars are not signs of defeat. They are evidence of healing. An open wound is vulnerable and raw. A scar means the body repaired itself. In the same way, the places where you once felt shattered are slowly becoming stronger than before. You may not feel stronger. You may still feel fragile on certain days. But strength is not loud. It is quiet and steady. It shows up when you choose not to give up. It shows up when you get out of bed even when motivation is low. It shows up when you try again after disappointment. My beloved child, this battle revealed your endurance. You now know that you can survive heartbreak. You know that you can navigate uncertainty. You know that even when your mind is clouded, clarity eventually returns. These are not small lessons. They are foundations that will support you in the seasons ahead. There is a depth in you now that was not there before. A groundedness. A realism mixed with hope. You are no longer naive about life's challenges, but you are also no longer easily shaken by them. It balances strength. The battle also deepened your relationship with me. When everything else felt unstable, you searched for something solid. You reached for me in ways you had not before. You asked harder questions. You sought deeper understanding. And through that seeking, something intimate formed between us. You began to realize that I am not only present in victories, I am present in valleys. This battle changed you, yes, but it did not diminish you. It expanded you. It carved out space inside your heart for greater empathy, greater courage, greater trust. One day, you will look back and see this season not only as the time you struggled, but as the time you grew roots. Roots that run deep enough to withstand future storms. Roots that anchor you when winds rise again. My beloved child, you are not who you were before this battle. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are deeper. And the version of you emerging now is ready for the peace that is coming. My beloved child, you have walked through fire. You have endured nights of uncertainty and days of silent endurance. You have grown stronger, wiser, deeper. But even now, as the battle begins to quiet, I see something in your hands. You are still holding the weight. You have become so used to carrying it that you no longer question whether it belongs to you. It has rested on your shoulders for so long that you think it is part of who you are. The pressure, the responsibility, the constant mental calculations, the endless replaying of conversations, the careful monitoring of everyone's emotions, the attempt to prevent every possible disappointment before it happens. My beloved child, that weight was never assigned to you. You took it on slowly, one stone at a time. A regret from the past, a fear about the future, a sense of responsibility for someone else's choices, the belief that if you just tried harder, thought longer, prepared more, you could avoid pain entirely. Each thought became a stone. Each fear added another layer. And over time, what started as caution turned into burden. Imagine yourself walking along a long road with a heavy sack over your shoulder. Inside are all the what-ifs that have haunted you. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I am not enough? What if everything falls apart? With every step, the sack rubs against your skin. Your posture changes to compensate. Your muscle tighten to endure. You tell yourself this is simply what responsible people do. They carry things, but you were not created to carry everything. Responsibility is doing what is yours to do with integrity and love. Control is trying to manage outcomes that are beyond your reach. You have blurred the two. You have tried to guarantee safety, guarantee success, guarantee approval. And in doing so, you have exhausted yourself. My beloved child, listen carefully. You are not the guardian of the entire future. You are not responsible for every outcome. You are not accountable for every emotion that passes through another person's heart. You cannot prevent every storm, nor are you expected to. You may ask me, if I stop carrying it, won't everything collapse? That question reveals how long you have believed that everything depends on you. But look at your life. Even when you were at your weakest, even when your strength ran thin, the world did not end. The sun still rose. Breath still filled your lungs. Help still appeared in unexpected forms. That was not your control. That was my care. Now picture yourself standing before me with that heavy sack in your hands. Your fingers are stiff from gripping it so tightly. Your shoulders ache. Your back is sore. You have grown used to the discomfort, but it is still pain. I stretch out my hands to you and say, gently but firmly, give it to me. You hesitate, because if you release it, you will have to trust. You will have to admit your limits. You will have to believe that I am capable of holding what you cannot. My beloved child, I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am asking you to surrender control. There is a difference. You can still show up with love. You can still make wise choices. You can still plan and prepare. But you do not have to carry fear alongside those actions. You do not have to brace for disaster as if anxiety is your shield. Let your hands loosen. One by one, release the stones. The guilt from years ago that you keep replaying. The fear that tomorrow will repeat yesterday's pain. The pressure to meet every expectation perfectly. The belief that you must hold everything together or it will all fall apart. As you release them, you may feel exposed. You may feel lighter and uncertain at the same time. That is what trust feels like in the beginning. It feels like stepping forward without armor you once relied on. But notice something else. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your shoulders straighten. Your steps feel less heavy. There is space in your chest where tension once lived. This is freedom beginning. My beloved child, the weight you carry is not yours anymore. I am strong enough to hold your unanswered questions. I am steady enough to manage your uncertain future. I am wise enough to handle what you cannot predict. You were never meant to drag stones through life. You were meant to walk with me, upright, unburdened, and unafraid. So let it go now. Fully, completely. Place it in my hands and walk forward lighter than you have in a very long time. My beloved child, now that you have begun to loosen your grip on the weight you were never meant to carry, there is one more thing we must address. The voice that has followed you through this battle. The voice that grows louder in quiet moments. The voice that tries to reclaim the ground you are finally taking back. The fear. For a long time, fear has spoken as if it had authority in your life. It has interrupted your peace. It has questioned your future. It has analyzed every risk and magnified every uncertainty. Sometimes it has sounded protective, as if it were trying to keep you safe. Other times it has sounded harsh, predicting failure before you even begin. But hear me clearly today. Fear does not have the final word over you. Fear has borrowed your imagination and used it against you. It has shown you pictures of worst-case scenarios and convinced you they were inevitable. It has replayed past disappointments and whispered, "It will happen again." It has taken small uncertainties and expanded them until they felt overwhelming. Yet fear is not truth. It is a projection. You have treated fear as if it were a warning siren that must always be obeyed. You have rearranged your decisions around it. You have hesitated because of it. You have stayed silent when you wanted to speak because of it. You have delayed steps forward because fear told you that failure was certain. But my beloved child, fear has been loud because you have been listening. Today, its volume is turning down. Imagine fear as a voice standing behind you, constantly narrating danger. Now imagine me standing in front of you, steady and calm. My voice is not frantic. My voice does not rush. My voice does not accuse. I speak with clarity. I speak with assurance. I speak with authority rooted in love. When fear says you will not make it, I say, you already have. When fear says you are alone, I say, I am with you. When fear says you will fail, I say, you will grow. When fear says you are not enough, I say, you are mine. Which voice will you choose to believe? Fear has survived in your life because it was rarely challenged. It entered quietly, settled in your thoughts, and built a case against your confidence. But today, we confront it together. Fear, you have no authority here. My beloved child, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that fear will not decide your future. It is stepping forward while your hands tremble. It is speaking truth even when your voice shakes. It is choosing trust even when you cannot see the entire path. You may still feel sensations of fear in your body. Your heart may race at times. Your thoughts may attempt to spiral. But those sensations do not control you. They are signals, not rulers. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. From this moment forward, when fear begins to whisper, pause. Do not immediately accept its narrative. Ask yourself, is this voice leading me toward life or shrinking me into hiding? Because I do not call you into hiding. I call you into growth. Fear loses its voice when truth is spoken consistently. So speak truth over yourself. Speak it even when it feels unfamiliar. Speak it until it feels natural. Remind yourself that you have survived every difficult day you once thought would break you. Remind yourself that you are not navigating this life alone. Remind yourself that uncertainty does not mean abandonment. My beloved child, fear has tried to sit on a throne in your mind. But today, the throne is being reclaimed. You are not ruled by worst-case scenarios. You are not defined by anxious predictions. You are not trapped in cycles of hesitation. You are guided. You are protected. You are strengthened. Let fear's voice fade into the background. Let it shrink as you step forward. Let it lose power as you choose trust. Because today, fear does not lead you. I do. My beloved child, as fear loses its voice, something else begins to rise within you. It is quiet at first, gentle, almost unfamiliar, but it is real. Peace is entering your heart now. Not the fragile peace that depends on everything going perfectly. Not the temporary calm that disappears at the first sign of trouble. I'm speaking of a deeper peace. The kind that settles beneath your thoughts. The kind that steadies your breathing. The kind that remains even when circumstances are still adjusting. You have lived in tension for so long that peace feels strange. Your body hath been on alert. Your mind has been scanning for danger. Your heart has been bracing for impact. And now, as the battle shifts, there is space where tension once lived. Breathe in slowly. You feel that subtle release. That slight softening in your chest. That is not imagination. That is me calming the waters inside you. Imagine your heart, as a lake that has been stirred by storms. Waves crashing, wind howling, the surface restless and unpredictable. For a long time, you tried to calm it yourself. You analyzed the wind. You studied the waves. You blamed yourself for the turbulence. But storms are not calmed by effort alone. Now picture me standing at the edge of that lake. I do not shout. I do not panic. I simply speak. And as I speak, the wind slows. The waves lower. The surface begins to smooth. This is what is happening within you. Peace is not earned by perfection. It is received through trust. And you are beginning to trust again. You are beginning to believe that you do not have to anticipate disaster to survive. You are beginning to accept that you can rest without everything being resolved. My beloved child, let this peace settle. It may not remove every external challenge overnight. There may still be conversations to have, decisions to make, steps to take, but you will not take them from panic anymore. You will take them from steadiness. Notice how your thoughts are no longer racing as quickly. Notice how the urgency that once dominated your mind is fading. Notice how your body feels less tight, less guarded. This is restoration beginning from the inside out. You are not naive for embracing peace. You are not irresponsible for choosing calm. You are aligning with truth. The battle was never meant to consume your entire identity. It was a season, not your destiny. Peace is your inheritance, and as it enters your heart, it will begin to influence everything else. Your reactions will soften. Your words will carry more clarity. Your decisions will be guided by wisdom rather than fear. Even your sleep will grow deeper as your mind learns that it no longer needs to stand watch through the night. Let the river of my peace flow through you. Imagine it washing through the tight places in your shoulders, flowing through the tension in your jaw, easing the heaviness in your thoughts. It is not forced. It is not rushed. It is steady and consistent. You have been surviving. Now you are beginning to live. My beloved child, receive this peace fully. Do not push it away because it feels unfamiliar. Do not question it because you are used to chaos. Let it anchor you. The battle that once roared is fading into silence. And in its place, I am establishing something stronger than fear and deeper than exhaustion. Peace is entering your heart now. Let it remain. As this battle breaks and light begins to rise in your life, some of you feel a stirring in your spirit to help this message reach another weary heart. My beloved child, when you sow into this mission, you are not giving to a platform. You are placing seed into soil that carries my word to those still fighting in silence. Did I not say that those who sow generously will reap generously? When you release your super thanks, you are lighting a lamp for someone standing in darkness. When you become a member, you pour oil into a vessel that keeps this river of truth flowing without interruption. If your heart moves toward PayPal giving, the link waits in the description and even in the QR code placed within this video. A simple doorway for obedience. This is not a transaction. It is participation in rescue. I am the Lord of the harvest, and I multiply every seed placed into my hands. Do not ignore the prompting you feel right now. Act in faith, and let your giving become someone else's breakthrough. Step forward and sow. My beloved child, stay with me in this moment. Do not rush past it. Something significant is happening, even if it feels subtle. The storm that once surrounded your life is breaking. For a long time, you lived under darkened skies. You woke up with a sense of pressure before the day even began. You carried umbrellas in your mind, always preparing for another emotional downpour. Even when the sun tried to peek through, you doubted it would last. You thought, this calm is temporary. The thunder will return. But look again. Storms feel endless when you are standing inside them. The wind howls so loudly that you cannot imagine silence. The rain falls so hard that you forget what dry ground feels like. Lightning flashes so often that you assume the sky will always be violent. Yet every storm has a breaking point. Every system of chaos eventually exhausts itself. And this one has. You may not see blue skies yet, but the intensity is fading. The winds that once pushed you backward are slowing. The emotional thunder that once startled you daily is no longer constant. The atmosphere of your life is shifting, and you can feel it in small, almost unnoticeable ways. Perhaps you reacted differently to something that once would have overwhelmed you. Perhaps you felt a moment of clarity where confusion used to dominate. Perhaps you experienced a breath of relief without immediately questioning it. These are signs. The storm is losing its strength. My beloved child, when storms break, they do not always announce their departure. They simply weaken. The rain becomes lighter. The thunder grows distant. The sky gradually brightens. And those who have endured the worst of it sometimes struggle to trust that it is truly ending. You may still feel cautious. You may still glance upward, waiting for another strike. That is natural. When you have been in survival mode for a long time, your body and mind learn to anticipate danger. But you do not have to live in anticipation anymore. The air around you is clearing. Think about how the earth smells after heavy rain. Renewed. Washed clean. Storms, though destructive at times, also cleanse. They wash away dust. They nourish roots hidden beneath the surface. They force weak branches to fall so stronger growth can take place. This storm has done the same in you. It exposed fragile foundations. It revealed which fears had too much control. It shook assumptions you did not realize you were leaning on. But in doing so, it strengthened what truly matters. It deepened your roots. It anchored your identity beyond temporary conditions. Now the shaking is subsiding. My beloved child, you are stepping into a calmer season. That does not mean there will never be challenges again. Life moves in rhythms. But this specific storm, the one that felt relentless, personal, exhausting, is breaking apart. You will notice it first in your thoughts. The constant urgency will lessen. The need to overanalyze every detail will fade. Your mind will no longer feel like it is racing against invisible threats. Then you will notice it in your emotions. You will respond instead of react. You will pause instead of panic. You will choose rather than brace. And eventually, you will see it in your circumstances. Doors that seem jammed shut will begin to open. Conversations that felt tense will soften. Opportunities that once felt distant will draw near. Do not sabotage this new calm by expecting chaos. Do not cling to vigilance out of habit. You are allowed to relax your shoulders. You are allowed to breathe without scanning the horizon. Lift your head, my beloved child. The clouds are parting. Light is finding its way through. The thunder that once echoed so loudly is becoming a faint memory. You have endured the worst of it. Now stand in the clearing. Feel the ground beneath you, still damp but stable. Let the cool air refresh your spirit. Let hope rise naturally instead of being forced. The storm is breaking, and you are still standing. My beloved child, as the storm breaks and the air begins to clear, there is a truth I want to anchor deeply within your heart. You were never alone in the war. I know there were moments when it felt that way. Moments when the silence around you was heavy. When the people you expected to understand could not fully see your struggle. When support felt distant and comfort seemed delayed. In those hours, loneliness wrapped around you like a second battle. You wondered, where is everyone? Where is God? But I was there. I was there in the quiet strength that helped you get out of bed when you wanted to stay hidden. I was there in the unexpected message or kind word that arrived at just the right moment. I was there in the restraint that kept you from making a decision you would have regretted. I was there in the tears you cried, catching each one as if it were sacred. Loneliness is powerful because it convinces you that you are unseen. It tells you that your struggle is isolated, that no one is fighting alongside you. But feelings are not always facts. And the fact is this: you were accompanied every step of the way. When you walked into rooms carrying silent battles, I walked in with you. When you lay awake at night with thoughts that would not quiet, I was nearer than the darkness. When you questioned your own strength, I was steady within you. You may not have felt me in dramatic ways. There may not have been thunderous signs or sudden miracles that removed every obstacle. But my presence is not measured by noise. It is measured by faithfulness. And I have been faithful. Think back to the lowest point of this battle. The moment when you felt you could not endure another wave. Somehow you did. Somehow, breath continued. Somehow, you found just enough strength for the next step. You may have called it resilience. You may have called it survival. But it was also my companionship. You were not abandoned to your fears. You were not left to wrestle alone. Even when others misunderstood you, I understood. Even when explanations felt impossible, I knew the full story. Even when you doubted yourself, I did not doubt you. My beloved child, there were unseen supports around you. Protection you did not recognize. Delays that preserved you. Closed doors that redirected you. You saw absence where I was actively working. The war felt solitary because much of it happened inside your mind and heart. Internal battles often feel invisible to the outside world. But invisible does not mean unsupported. Imagine a soldier on a battlefield who cannot see the air support flying above because the clouds are thick. The soldier might assume they are alone. But protection can operate beyond visibility. Reinforcement can arrive without announcement. That is how I have been with you. I strengthened you from within. I steadied your thoughts when they threatened to spiral beyond control. I gave you moments of unexpected clarity in the middle of confusion. I placed reminders of hope in your path when despair tried to settle in. And even now, as you listen to my voice, I am with you. You may still carry traces of that loneliness. You may still feel cautious about trusting that you are supported. But let this truth settle. You have never fought a single day of your life without my presence. You are not navigating this new season alone either. As peace grows and the storm fades, I remain beside you. As you rebuild, as you rediscover joy, as you step into clarity, I am not stepping away. My beloved child, companionship has always been part of your story. The war may have felt isolating, but you were surrounded in ways you could not see. And now, as you move forward, you will begin to recognize my nearness not only in crisis, but in calm. You were never alone in the war, and you will never walk alone in the victory. My beloved child, now that you understand you were never alone, we must address the final chains that tried to hold you in place. Not chains around your wrists, but chains around your thoughts. The lies that quietly shaped the way you saw yourself. The false narratives that repeated so often they began to sound like truth. Those lies are shattering now. For a long time, you carried statements in your mind that did not originate from me. I am not enough. I always ruin things. Nothing ever works out for me. I will never truly be at peace. These phrases became familiar, and familiarity made them feel believable. But familiarity does not equal truth. Lies grow strong in repetition. The more you heard them internally, the more they felt like facts. They influenced your decisions. They shaped your expectations. They colored your perception of every new opportunity. You approached life not from confidence, but from quiet defeat. Yet today, something is breaking. Imagine a glass wall standing in front of you. For years, you thought it was solid reality. You believed it defined your limits. You adjusted your life around it. But now, cracks are spreading across its surface. Light is pressing through from the other side. That glass wall is built from lies. The lie that your past mistakes permanently disqualified you. The lie that one rejection defined your worth. The lie that because something failed once, it will fail again. The lie that your struggle means you are weak. My beloved child, those statements have never carried my voice. When I speak to you, I do not label you by your lowest moment. I do not reduce your identity to your worst decision. I do not forecast defeat over your future. I call you beloved. I call you chosen. I call you capable through my strength. The lies held you in cycles. You expected disappointment, so you approach opportunities cautiously. You feared abandonment, so you guarded your heart tightly. You anticipated failure, so you hesitated to try fully. And then, when outcomes were less than perfect, the lies said, "See, we were right." But they were not right. They were self-fulfilling traps. Truth disrupts those traps. Truth says that growth includes mistakes. Truth says that healing takes time but is absolutely possible. Truth says that one chapter does not dictate the entire story. Truth says that your value was never dependent on flawless performance. As these truths take root, the lies lose structure. You may still hear echoes of them from time to time. Old habits of thought do not vanish instantly, but their authority is gone. They no longer sit on the throne of your mind. They no longer dictate your identity. Imagine those lies as chains made of brittle material. They look heavy. They sounded convincing. But now, as you stand in truth, those chains are cracking. Pieces are falling to the ground. What once felt restrictive is losing its grip. My beloved child, you are not who the lies said you were. You are not permanently broken. You are not destined for struggle. You are not too damaged to thrive. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. As these lies shatter, something beautiful replaces them. Confidence that is not arrogant, but grounded. Humility that is not shame-based, but secure. Hope that is not naive, but resilient. You will begin to notice changes in how you speak about yourself. You will catch negative thoughts sooner. You will pause before agreeing with self-criticism. You will start responding to fear with truth instead of surrendering to it. This is freedom unfolding. My beloved child, the battle you fought was intense because it targeted your identity. But your identity was never up for negotiation. It was always secure in me. The lies that once held you are breaking apart. And what remains standing is the truth of who you have always been. Loved, strengthened, and destined for peace. My beloved child, now that the lies are shattering and the noise is quieting, we can finally turn our attention to something tender. Beneath the battle, beneath the fear, beneath the exhaustion, there have been wounds. Some fresh, some very old. Some so carefully hidden that even you forgot they were still there. Healing begins in the hidden places. You have learned how to function with unhealed parts of your heart. You learned how to smile while carrying rejection. You learned how to achieve while carrying insecurity. You learned how to love others while quietly questioning whether you were truly lovable yourself. Survival taught you how to move forward, but healing asked you to slow down. There are memories that still sting when they surface. Words spoken over you that linger longer than they should. Moments of betrayal. Moments of embarrassment. Moments when you felt unseen or misunderstood. You told yourself to move on. You told yourself it was not a big deal. But your heart remembers what your mind tried to dismiss. My beloved child, I am not asking you to relive pain. I am inviting you to release it. Healing is not dramatic. It is often quiet. It happens in the soft acknowledgement of truth. It begins when you admit that hurt. It deepens when you allow yourself to feel without judgment. It grows when you bring those places into my presence instead of burying them again. Imagine a small room inside your heart that you have kept locked. You rarely open the door. When you do, you quickly shut it again because the air feels heavy inside. But I am standing at that door with you, not to force it open, but to gently step inside with you. You are not too fragile for this process. You are not too broken to be restored. The parts of you that feel tender are not liabilities. They are invitations for my care. Sometimes you believe that if you ignored the wound long enough, it would disappear. But unaddressed pain does not vanish. It settles. It shapes reactions. It influences expectations. It colors relationships. Healing requires attention, not avoidance. I want you to know something deeply. Your wounds do not repel me. They draw me closer. I am not uncomfortable with your sadness. I am not impatient with your process. I do not rush you toward perfection. I sit with you in the quiet work of restoration. Healing may look like forgiving someone who never apologized. It may look like forgiving yourself for something you regret. It may look like setting boundaries where you once overextended. It may look like allowing yourself to grieve what could have been. None of these steps are signs of weakness. They are signs of courage. My beloved child, you are allowed to heal at a pace that is honest. You do not have to pretend you are fine to make others comfortable. You do not have to minimize your story because someone else had it worse. Your pain matters because you matter. As healing begins in these hidden places, you will notice subtle shifts. Triggers will lose intensity. Memories will carry less sting. Situations that once provoked strong reactions will feel manageable. Not because the past never happened, but because it no longer controls you. I am gently restoring what was bruised. Picture a gardener tending to a plant that has been damaged by harsh weather. The gardener does not shame the plant for being bent. He carefully trims what is broken. He waters the roots. He gives it time and light. Slowly, new growth appears. That gardener is how I tend to you. My beloved child, healing is not a single moment. It is a journey. But you are already on it. And you are not walking it alone. The hidden places in your heart are no longer dark. I am there bringing life, bringing comfort, bringing restoration. And what is being healed now will no longer hurt the way it once did. My beloved child, pause with me here. Let everything else grow quiet for a moment. After all you have faced, after every internal battle and hidden wound, there is one truth that must settle deeply into your heart. You are still my beloved. Not conditionally loved. Not barely accepted. Not tolerated because of potential. You are fully, completely, unshakably mine. There were moments in this battle when you doubted that. When prayers felt heavy in your mouth. when silence stretched longer than you expected, when your own reactions disappointed you. You replayed conversations. You analyzed your mistakes. You questioned your faith. And quietly, almost without noticing, you began to wonder if I saw you differently. You thought perhaps I was disappointed. My beloved child, my love for you has never depended on your flawless performance. You have measured yourself by outcomes. You have evaluated your worth based on productivity, composure, and success. When you handled pressure well, you felt strong. When you stumbled, you felt ashamed. When you reacted emotionally, you felt immature. When you grew tired, you felt weak. But I do not look at you through that lens. I see the intention behind your effort. I see the courage it took to keep trying. I see the internal wrestling you endured when no one else was aware. I see the restraint you practiced when you wanted to lash out. I see the quiet apologies you offered when you realized you were wrong. I see the humility that followed your mistakes. Those are not signs of failure. They are signs of growth. Imagine a parent watching a child learn something new. The child attempts, fails, tries again, falls, cries, stands up. The parent does not withdraw love when the child stumbles. The parent does not say, "Come back," when you can walk perfectly. The parent kneels, lifts, encourages, and remains present. That is how I am with you. Even in your lowest moments, when doubt clouded your mind, when frustration sharpened your words, when fear guided your choices, you were still my beloved. You did not step outside of my affection because you struggled. You may have felt distant. You may have hesitated to approach me. You may have thought, "I need to fix myself before I can come close again." But you never needed to repair yourself to earn access to me. You do not clean a wound before bringing it to the healer. You bring it so it can be cleaned. My beloved child, you are not loved because you are perfect. You are loved because you are mine. Your identity was not suspended during this battle. It was not revoked when you questioned me. It was not withdrawn when you felt overwhelmed. My love does not fluctuate with your emotions. It does not shrink when you fall short. It does not hesitate when you are uncertain. There were times when you were harder on yourself than I have ever been. You replayed your failures with relentless intensity. You spoke to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you care about. Yet even in those self-critical moments, I was speaking something different over you. I was saying, "You are still my beloved. You are still chosen, still held, still seen, still guided." The battle may have shaken your confidence, but it did not shake your position in my heart. The storm may have distorted your view of yourself, but it did not distort my view of you. You belong. Not because you performed well, not because you overcame quickly, not because you impressed anyone. You belong because I formed you with intention. I called you by name. I marked you with love that does not expire. Let this truth rebuild your self-perception. Let it soften the harsh voice within you. Let it remind you that your value is not under review. My beloved child, lift your head. Stand in this identity. Walk forward, not trying to regain my approval, but resting in the approval that has always been yours. You are still my beloved. Always. My beloved child, I know there is a memory that still lingers in your mind. A moment you wish you could rewrite. A decision you wish you had handled differently. A season when your faith felt thin and your strength felt almost non-existent. You have quietly wondered whether that moment changed everything. Whether it altered your future. Whether it disqualified you from the life you were meant to live. Hear me clearly now. Your weakest moment did not disqualify you. You have been carrying the weight of that memory as if it were a verdict. You replay it when you are alone. You analyze what you should have said, what you should have done, how you should have responded. And each time, the voice of shame tries to whisper, "You ruined it. You went too far. You fell too hard." But I do not speak that language over you. You measure your life by isolated events. I see the full story. You focus on one chapter. I see the entire unfolding journey. And no single moment, no matter how painful, no matter how imperfect, has the authority to cancel what I have spoken over you. You believed that strength meant never faltering. You thought maturity meant never reacting emotionally. You assumed that real faith meant never questioning, never struggling, never feeling overwhelmed. So when you broke down, when you hesitated, when you doubted, you interpreted it as failure. But my beloved child, breaking is not the same as being broken beyond repair. Think of a potter shaping clay. The clay must be pressed, stretched, even reshaped when it leans unevenly. If the form collapses, the potter does not throw the clay away. He gathers it, moistens it, and begins again with greater care. The clay is not disqualified because it softened under pressure. It is simply still in process. You are still in process. There were days when your emotions overflowed. Days when fear spoke louder than faith. Days when you retreated instead of stepping forward. And afterward, you judged yourself harshly. You thought you had proven your inadequacy. You feared that I was disappointed. But disappointment is not how I respond to your humanity. I respond with grace. Grace does not ignore your mistakes, but it does not weaponize them either. Grace acknowledges where you fell short and then lifts you back into growth. Grace says, learn from this. Rise from this. But do not live condemned by this. My beloved child, your weakest moment revealed your need. And needing me is not a flaw. It is the doorway to deeper strength. If you had never struggled, you might have relied solely on your own ability. If you had never faltered, you might have believed you were self-sufficient. But in your weakness, you discovered dependence. In your faltering, you discovered humility. In your uncertainty, you discovered surrender. Those are not disqualifications. They are foundations. You think your misstep delayed everything, but I can weave even detours into destiny. I can use what you regret as preparation. I can transform what embarrassed you into empathy that will help someone else. Nothing is wasted in my hands. The compassion you now carry came from understanding your own fragility. The wisdom you now possess came from learning through experience. The gentleness you show others was born from receiving mercy yourself. My beloved child, you are not standing outside of your purpose looking in. You are still within my design. The calling over your life did not dissolve when you stumbled. The future I hold for you did not disappear when you felt weak. Stand up without shame. Let go of the fear that you ruined something permanent. Release the belief that one season defines your identity. You are not labeled by your lowest moment. You are shaped by it. Your weakest moment did not disqualify you and deepen you. They humbled you. It prepared you. And now, you move forward not as someone who failed beyond recovery, but as someone who had been refined by grace and strengthened by truth. My beloved child, something is happening within you right now that you may not fully recognize yet. It is deeper than emotion. It is stronger than a temporary burst of motivation. It is quieter than a dramatic breakthrough, but far more powerful. The chains are falling. For a long time, you have lived with invisible restraints. They did not clink loudly. They did not draw attention. but they limited your movement all the same. You wanted to step forward boldly, yet hesitation tightened around your ankles. You wanted to speak freely, yet insecurity wrapped around your throat. You wanted to rest deeply, yet anxiety hovered over your mind like a guard that refused to sleep. Those restraints felt normal after a while. You adjusted your posture around them. You learned how to function within the boundaries they created. You told yourself, "This is just who I am. This is just how life is." But deep within, there was always a longing for more space, more freedom, more ease. My beloved child, that longing was not foolish. It was prophetic. Imagine standing in a dim room with heavy iron cuffs around your wrists and ankles. You have worn them for so long that you hardly notice their weight anymore. You have mastered the art of small movements. You have become careful, calculated, guarded. But then, without sudden noise, without dramatic force, the metal begins to weaken. Cracks form where pressure once held firm. The weight shifts. The cold tightness around your skin begins to loosen. And slowly, almost gently, the cuffs fall away. That is what is happening in your spirit. The belief that you must always brace for disappointment is losing its strength. The habit of criticizing yourself before anyone else can is breaking apart. The assumption that peace will not last is dissolving. The reflex to expect rejection is weakening. These were chains formed from repeated thoughts. Chains forged in seasons of pain. Chains strengthened by fear rehearsed so often that it sounded like wisdom. But they were never my design for you. You were never meant to live confined by self-doubt. You were never meant to shrink your voice to avoid judgment. You were never meant to carry guilt long after forgiveness was offered. Chains fall when truth becomes louder than lies. You have allowed truth into places that were once tightly sealed. You have faced thoughts you used to avoid. You have listened to my voice over the noise of accusation. And as you have done this, the metal has weakened. Freedom does not always feel explosive. Sometimes it feels like breathing more deeply than you have in years. Sometimes it feels like choosing differently in a moment that once controlled you. Sometimes it feels like calm where panic used to live. Notice the changes. A thought that once spiraled now pauses. A memory that once triggered shame now carries less sting. A risk that once terrified you now feels possible. These are the sounds of chains hitting the ground. My beloved child, you may still feel the imprint where they once rested. Freedom can feel unfamiliar at first. You may instinctively look for the old limitations, expecting them to return. But they no longer have authority. When old fears attempt to reattach themselves, they will find nothing to grip. When old narratives try to reclaim space in your mind, they will feel weaker than before. Because something foundational has shifted. You are no longer agreeing with what bound you. You are no longer rehearsing what restrained you. You are no longer surrendering to what limited you. Stand still for a moment and sense the lightness around your spirit. The tightness in your chest is easing. The guarded stance of your heart is softening. The cautious calculation that once dominated your decisions is loosening its hold. The chains are falling, and as they fall, you are rediscovering who you were before fear convinced you to shrink. You are remembering your courage. You are reclaiming your voice. You are stepping forward with a steadiness that does not depend on perfection. My beloved child, you were created for freedom. Not reckless freedom, but grounded, peaceful, confident freedom. The kind that allows you to move without constant apology. The kind that allows you to love without constant fear. The kind that allows you to rest without constant vigilance. Feel the space around you now. The restraints that once defined your movement are gone, and you are standing unbound. My beloved child, now that the chains are falling and you are beginning to taste freedom again, there is something important you must understand. Rest is not quitting. For so long, you have equated rest with weakness. You believed that if you slowed down, you would lose ground. If you paused, you would fall behind. If you admitted you needed a break, it meant you were not strong enough to continue. But that belief was shaped by pressure, not by truth. You have lived in survival mode. You have pushed through exhaustion. You have carried responsibilities beyond your limits. You have told yourself, just a little longer. Just one more effort. Just one more push. And while perseverance has value, endless striving drains the soul. My beloved child, rest is not surrendering your purpose. It is restoring your strength. Imagine a warrior who had been fighting for days without pause. His armor is dented. His hands are shaky. His breathing is heavy. If he refuses to step back and recover, he will collapse not because he lacked courage, but because he ignored his need for renewal. Rest is not retreating in defeat. It is preparing in wisdom. You have feared that if you let your guard down, everything you built would unravel. You have feared that if you stopped carrying the weight, it would all crash around you. But the truth is this: I am the one who sustains you. Not your endless effort. Not your constant vigilance. Not your overthinking. You are not the engine of your own existence. There is a difference between giving up and laying down what was never yours to carry. Giving up says there is no hope. Rest says I trust that I am supported. Giving up disconnects. Rest reconnects. My beloved child, I am inviting you into sacred rest. This rest is not laziness. It is not avoidance. It is not denial of responsibility. It is a deep exhale. It is choosing to believe that you do not have to hold everything together by yourself. You may feel resistance rising even as you hear this. A voice inside you may whisper, "If I relax, I will fall behind. If I stop striving, I will lose momentum." But that voice is rooted in fear, not in truth. You were not created to live in constant tension. Your body was designed for rhythm, work and pause, effort and restoration, engagement and stillness. When you ignore rest, your mind grows clouded. Your emotions grow reactive. Your joy fades. But when you allow yourself to rest, clarity returns. Strength rebuilds. Perspective sharpens. Rest is an act of trust. It is you saying, "I believe that God is still working even when I am still." It is you admitting, "I have limits," and that is not failure. It is you stepping out of self-reliance and into divine reliance. Picture yourself placing your armor down for a moment, removing the heavy piece that you have worn for so long, sitting beside me without performance, without pressure, without proving anything. You do not have to fight every second of every day. You are allowed to breathe deeply without preparing for battle. You are allowed to enjoy moments of quiet without scanning for danger. You are allowed to sit in my presence without agenda. My beloved child, rest is not the end of your journey. It is part of the journey. When you rest, you do not forfeit victory. You secure it, because you return to the battle, if needed, renewed instead of depleted. But hear me clearly. This season is not about constant fighting anymore. It is about restoration. It is about rebuilding strength. It is about learning to live without perpetual defense. Rest your mind from overthinking. Rest your heart from rehearsing pain. Rest your spirit from striving. You are not quitting. You are healing. And as you lean into this sacred rest, you will discover that peace is not fragile. It is sustaining. Come, my beloved child. Lay your head down without fear. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath slow. Rest is not quitting. It is trusting me to carry what you no longer need to hold. My beloved child, there were seasons when the pressure around you felt unbearable. You remember them clearly. The tightness in your chest, the constant sense of urgency, the weight of expectations, some spoken, some silent, pressing down on your shoulders. There were moments when you wondered if you were being crushed beyond recovery. You asked yourself, why is this so heavy? Why does it feel like everything is pushing against me at once? And in those moments, it seemed as though the very circumstances surrounding you were designed to break you. But hear me now with clarity and assurance. What tried to crush you will now build you. Pressure has the appearance of destruction when you are standing inside it, and distorts your perspective. It magnifies your fears. It makes you question your strength. But pressure, when placed in my hands, becomes shaping rather than shattering. Consider how a diamond is formed. It begins as something ordinary, buried deep beneath layers of earth. It is subjected to intense pressure and heat over time. To the untrained eye, that environment would look hostile, unbearable. Yet it is precisely that pressure that transforms carbon into something resilient and brilliant. The pressure you endured has been transforming you. When you were misunderstood, you learned how to anchor your identity beyond approval. When opportunities did not unfold as you expected, you developed patience and adaptability. When relationships shifted or strained, you discovered where your boundaries needed strengthening. When you were stretched thin, you realized where you needed to depend on me instead of your own strength. Each of these moments felt uncomfortable. Some felt painful, but none were wasted. You feared that hardship would weaken you permanently. You thought the strain would leave cracks that could never be repaired. Yet what actually happened is this: your internal structure strengthened. You are more discerning now. You recognize unhealthy patterns sooner. You no longer ignore red flags you once overlooked. You no longer sacrifice your well-being to maintain false peace. That wisdom did not appear overnight. It was forged through pressure. You are more compassionate now. Because you know what silent battles feel like, you extend grace more readily. You listen more carefully. You judge less quickly. That empathy was born from your own struggles. You are more grounded now. The things that once shook you entirely no longer have the same power. You may still feel emotions deeply, but you are not undone by them. You have developed stability beneath sensitivity. My beloved child, what tried to crush you has become material for construction. Imagine a building rising from stone. The stone must be cut and shaped before it can fit into place. The chiseling process looks harsh. It sounds sharp. But without it, the structure would never stand strong. In the same way, the chiseling you experienced refined your character. There were dreams that seemed delayed, plans that unraveled, expectations that collapsed. And in the aftermath, you felt vulnerable and uncertain. But even in those moments, something was being reinforced within you. Resilience was taking root. You now know that you can survive disappointment. You now know that your value is not erased by setbacks. You now know that your peace does not have to depend on perfect conditions. These realizations are not small. They are pillars. One day, you will look back and recognize that this season was not meant to crush your spirit. It was meant to strengthen your foundation. The adversity that once intimidated you is now equipping you for greater responsibility and deeper joy. My beloved child, nothing you endured was pointless. Every tear softened hardened ground. Every challenge tested and reinforced your endurance. Every uncomfortable moment forced growth that comfort never could. You are not the same person who entered this battle. You carry depth where there was once naivety. You carry wisdom where there was once assumption. You carry steadiness where there was once constant doubt. What tried to crush you has become the very framework that will support your next season. You are not collapsing. You are being constructed into someone stronger, more compassionate, and more anchored than ever before. And the structure rising within you will not crumble easily again. My beloved child, you have walked through hardship that carved depth into your spirit and reshaped your mind. You have felt tension loosen, fear diminish, and truth grow louder within you. Every struggle, every tear, every moment that felt heavy has contributed to a transformation you did not fully recognize until now. And at this point, a divine declaration awaits, not because you perfected yourself, but because I have spoken. The battle ends because I say so. For too long, you assumed your peace depended on how much effort you poured into your own endurance. You thought if you prayed harder, strategized better, or pushed longer, you could achieve a resolution that felt complete. You carried responsibility as though it were strength. You guarded your thoughts incessantly as though vigilance alone would secure your future. But this fight, the relentless inner warfare that has worn your shoulders and clouded your mind, was never meant to be conquered by your efforts alone. It ends because authority has spoken. You have witnessed storms settle, shifts in your confidence, shifts in your perspective, and shifts in your capacity to trust once again. Those were not coincidences. Those were shifts that followed the movement of my voice in your life. Just as the wind and the waves respond when I speak, so the internal battles within you begin to quiet when my words settled into your heart. You were not called to fight endlessly. Persistence has its place. Courage has its value. But perseverance without peace is not your destiny. There comes a moment when pushing ceases and resting begins, not out of surrender but out of divine command. The tension that once felt normal was never my intention for you. It was a season of refining, not a life sentence. From this point forward, the voice of anxiety that once grew loud in your thoughts no longer dominates your inner narrative. The voice of fear that rehearsed worst-case scenarios loses its credibility. The habitual replay of self-criticism no longer carries authority over your identity. This is not wishful thinking. This is a divine declaration. You may still encounter challenges. Life unfolds in seasons with varying weather. But the specific pattern that dominated you, constant internal battle, has been closed. It has lost its mandate over your mind and heart. You are entering a new posture. Your heart is learning steadiness. Your thoughts are practicing clarity. Your spirit is adjusting to peace that is not dependent on perfect conditions. You are learning a rhythm of trust instead of tension, a rhythm of quiet confidence instead of internal conflict. This shift begins not with human achievement, but with divine declaration. You are not being asked to carry your past forever. You are not being asked to prove your worth to earn peace. You are not being judged by the moments you struggled. You are being invited into rest that is rooted in acceptance and sustained by truth. Let your breathing deepen. Let your shoulders soften. Let the quiet confidence that comes from my presence settle around you more than uncertainty ever did. The battle ends here, not in theory, not in hope, not in uncertainty, but because my voice has spoken finality over it. You are entering restoration. You are stepping into grounded peace. You are guided by truth instead of fear. And the war that once consumed your thoughts no longer has dominion over you. This battle ends because I say so. And what I declare is not temporary. It is enduring. The war is finished. My beloved child, the battle has ended because I have spoken. The war that once consumed your thoughts no longer defines your days. But the ending of a battle is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new landscape. And now, I am calling you to step into new ground. You have grown familiar with survival. You know how to guard your heart. You know how to brace for impact. You know how to analyze every possibility to avoid being hurt again. Those skills carried you through the storm, but they are not meant to guide you in a season of peace. You cannot live forever in defense mode. Imagine standing at the edge of a field that was once a battlefield. The noise is gone. The smoke has cleared. The ground that was once shaken has now settled. In front of you stretches open land, quiet, spacious, waiting. It may feel unfamiliar because you are used to tension. But this is not empty space. This is prepared ground. This is where growth begins. The new ground feels uncertain at first. When you have spent so long anticipating danger, calm can feel suspicious. You may find yourself looking over your shoulder, expecting conflict to return. You may hesitate to fully relax into joy, unsure if it will last. But my beloved child, this is not a temporary pause before another war. This is a new season. You are not returning to the old cycle. The mindset that helps you survive cannot be the mindset that helps you thrive. Survival says protect yourself at all costs. Growth says open your hands and plant. Survival says expect loss. Growth says expect fruit. Survival says stay small to avoid risk. Growth says expand with wisdom. You are being invited into expansion. Step forward. This new ground requires courage of a different kind. Not the courage to endure pain, but the courage to trust peace. Not the courage to withstand pressure, but the courage to build without fear of collapse. You are capable of this. You are not the same person who entered the battle. You carry discernment now. You recognize unhealthy patterns sooner. You understand your limits. You know how to pause instead of react. These lessons are tools, not scars. On this new ground, you will plant healthier boundaries. You will plant new habits of thought rooted in truth. You will plant relationships built on clarity rather than fear. You will plant dreams that you once buried because anxiety convinced you they were too risky. Plant patiently. Growth does not appear overnight. Seeds begin beneath the surface, hidden from view. You may not see immediate results, but do not confuse slow growth with failure. The roots must deepen before the fruit can rise. This season is not rushed. You may still feel echoes of the old battlefield. Old fears may attempt to whisper. Old doubts may try to re-enter your thoughts. But they no longer have authority. They are remnants of a closed chapter. You are not stepping onto fragile ground. You are stepping onto land prepared through refinement. The pressure you endured cleared space for healthier foundations. The lessons you learned removed unstable structures. Now there is room to build differently. Lift your head and look forward instead of backward. The battlefield behind you holds no future. It holds memories, yes. It holds lessons, yes. But it does not hold your destiny. Your destiny unfolds here. You are allowed to dream again without rehearsing disaster. You are allowed to make plans without assuming they will fail. You are allowed to experience joy without fearing it will vanish immediately. This ground is steady because I am steady. As you step forward, you do not walk alone. I walk beside you, guiding your steps, shaping your direction, reminding you when old habits try to return. You are not responsible for controlling every outcome. You are responsible for planting faithfully and trusting me with the growth. My beloved child, Do not linger at the edge of this new season. Do not remain cautious because caution once protected you. Take a step. Feel the firmness beneath your feet. This is not war. This is growth. Step into the new ground and begin building a life shaped by peace rather than pressure, guided by trust rather than fear, and sustained by my presence every step of the way. My beloved child, for so long your mind has felt like a crowded room. Thoughts overlapping, worries interrupting each other, memories replaying without invitation, plans forming and reforming in endless loops. Even when your body was still, your mind was racing. You grew accustomed to the noise. You called it responsibility. You called it preparation. You called it being realistic. But beneath those labels was exhaustion. You were tired not only in your body, but in your thoughts. You longed for quiet, yet you did not know how to access it. Hear me now. Your mind will know quiet again. Not forced silence, not suppression of thoughts, but true, steady quiet. The kind that feels like a calm lake at dawn. The kind that allows clarity instead of confusion. The kind that does not demand constant vigilance. You were never meant to live in mental chaos. Your mind is a gift. It is meant for creativity, discernment, imagination, and wisdom. It is not meant to be a battlefield of worst-case scenarios. It is not meant to replay every conversation with self-criticism. It is not meant to analyze every possible failure before you take a step. When fear ruled, your mind worked overtime trying to protect you. It scanned for threats. You rehearsed outcomes. It anticipated loss, and tried to prevent pain by predicting it. But constant prediction does not produce safety. It produces strain. Now that the battle has ended, your mind can begin to rest. This will not happen all at once. Patterns built over time unwind gradually. But you will begin to notice changes. A thought that once spiraled for hours will lose momentum in minutes. A fear that once dominated your day will pass more quickly. A memory that once triggered shame will feel less intense. These are signs of quiet returning. Imagine walking into a room where machines have been running loudly for years. The constant hum became background noise. You forgot what true silence sounded like. Then one day, the machines powered down. At first, the quiet feels strange, almost unsettling. But as your ears adjust, you realize how much relief it brings. Your mind is adjusting to that kind of quiet. You may initially feel unsure. You may search for something to worry about because worry became familiar. But you do not need to fill silence with anxiety. You can let it be. My beloved child, peace in your mind does not mean you will never think deeply again. It means your thoughts will no longer attack you. It means reflection will not become self-condemnation. It means planning will not become panic. You will think clearly. You will decide wisely. You will imagine creatively. But you will not live in constant inner argument. There will be moments when old patterns attempt to reappear. You may catch yourself overanalyzing or bracing unnecessarily. When that happens, do not judge yourself harshly. Simply pause. Breathe. Remind yourself that the battle has ended. Quiet is allowed now. Your sleep will grow deeper as your mind releases its need to stand guard through the night. Your conversations will feel lighter because you are not rehearsing them in advance. Your reactions will become more measured because your thoughts are no longer racing ahead of reality. This is restoration at the level of the mind. I am renewing the way you think about yourself. I am reshaping the way you interpret challenges. I am calming the reflex that once assumed disaster. You are not losing intelligence. You are losing unnecessary noise. My beloved child, your mind will know quiet again. Not because you forced it, not because you suppressed every concern, but because truth has replaced fear and authority has silenced the storm. Let the quiet come. Let it settle slowly. Let your thoughts become steady instead of frantic. You are not required to live in mental warfare. You are allowed to experience calm clarity. And as this quiet deepens, you will discover that your mind is not your enemy. It is a space where peace can dwell, creativity can flourish, and wisdom can guide you gently forward. My beloved child, as your mind grows quieter and your heart steadies, there is something else that begins to rise, something you may not have felt in a long time. Joy is returning to you. Not loud, forced happiness. Not pretending everything is perfect. Not a fragile smile hiding unspoken tension. I am speaking of real joy. The kind that bubbles up gently. The kind that surprises you in small moments. The kind that feels almost unfamiliar because it hath been absent for so long. There was a time when joy felt natural to you. You laughed more easily. You dreamed without bracing for disappointment. You noticed beauty without suspicion. But as the battle intensified, joy quietly slipped into the background. Survival took its place. You were not focused on delight. You were focused on endurance. That was necessary for a season. But that season has passed. Joy was never meant to be permanently postponed. You may find it difficult at first to trust joy's return. When you have known prolonged struggle, happiness can feel temporary. You may hesitate to fully embrace it, afraid it will vanish. You may wonder if allowing yourself to feel light again makes you naive. My beloved child, joy is not naive. It is strength. Joy is not denial of hardship. It is the decision that hardship will not own your spirit. Joy does not ignore reality. It rises in spite of it. It is rooted deeper than circumstance. Think of the sun rising after a long night. The darkness may have felt endless. The hours may have stretched painfully. But the sun was always going to rise. Its return was not accidental. It was certain. In the same way, joy is part of your design. You were not created to exist in constant heaviness. You were not designed to carry seriousness as your permanent identity. There is laughter within you that has not been fully expressed. There is creativity within you that has been dormant. There is lightness in your spirit waiting to be rediscovered. Joy will return in small ways first, in a moment of unexpected laughter, in a conversation that feels effortless, in a memory that no longer carries pain, but gratitude, in a quiet appreciation of simple beauty, a sunrise, a familiar voice, a deep breath. Do not dismiss these moments. They are not insignificant. They are evidence of restoration. You may notice that your heart feels less guarded, that you are more willing to hope, that you can imagine good outcomes without immediately predicting loss. This is joy gently stretching its limbs after a long rest. My beloved child, joy is not something you must manufacture. It is something you allow. As you release fear, as you lay down overthinking, as you step into new ground, you create space for joy to grow naturally. It does not require perfection. It does not require flawless circumstances. It simply requires openness. There will still be responsibilities. There will still be challenges. But they will not overshadow your entire existence. You will begin to experience moments that are simply good. Let yourself smile without questioning it. Let yourself enjoy without bracing. Let yourself anticipate good without rehearsing disaster. You are not betraying your past pain by embracing joy. You are honoring your healing. Joy does not erase what you endured. It redeems it. It proves that the battle did not win. It shows that your spirit was not crushed. It testifies that light still lives within you. My beloved child, joy is returning. It may arrive quietly, but it will grow steadily. It will strengthen you. It will energize you. It will remind you that life is not only about surviving storms, but also about standing in sunlight. You are allowed to feel light again. You are allowed to laugh again. You are allowed to hope again. And as joy returns, you will realize that peace is not just the absence of conflict. It is the presence of delight. Let joy rise within you. It belongs there. My beloved child, beneath every fear you have faced, beneath every anxious thought and guarded reaction, there hath been one deep longing in your heart, the longing to feel safe, not temporarily calm, not briefly distracted, but truly safe. For a long time, safety felt fragile to you. You learned to stay alert. You learned to prepare for disappointment before it arrived. You learned to read between lines, to analyze tone, to anticipate shifts. Your nervous system adapted to unpredictability. Your mind learned to scan constantly for what could go wrong. And though that vigilance helped you survive certain seasons, it also exhausted you. You were never created to live in a constant state of defense. My beloved child, hear this slowly and deeply. You are safe with me. Safety does not mean life will never stretch you. It does not mean you will never encounter difficulty. It means that no difficulty has the power to remove you from my care. It means you are not navigating uncertainty alone. It means your life is not hanging by a thread of your own effort. You are not exposed. Imagine a child resting against a strong and steady chest. The world around them may still be active. There may be noise in the distance, responsibilities waiting, decisions to make. But in that embrace, the child's muscles soften. The breathing deepens. The body trusts the arms that hold it. That is what I offer you. You do not have to hold yourself together every moment. You do not have to brace for impact as though disaster is inevitable. You do not have to tighten your heart to prevent loss. You are allowed to exhale. You are safe with me when you are strong. You are safe with me when you are uncertain. You are safe with me when you are celebrating. You are safe with me when you are grieving. My protection is not fragile. My presence is not conditional. The battle trained you to believe that safety depended on your vigilance. If you planned carefully enough, maybe nothing would collapse. If you thought ahead far enough, maybe you could prevent pain. If you stayed emotionally guarded, maybe you would not be hurt again. But constant guarding is not the same as genuine security. True security is knowing that even if circumstances shift, you remain anchored. My beloved child, I am your anchor. You are not walking on unstable ground. You are not building on sand. You are not relying solely on your own insight to navigate every twist in your journey. You are guided. You are supported. You are watched over with care that does not sleep. Even in moments when you feel uncertain, you are not unprotected. Even when outcomes are unclear, you are not abandoned. Even when people misunderstand you, you are not unseen. Safety also means you can be fully honest in my presence. You do not have to perform strength. You do not have to pretend faith when you feel fragile. You can bring me your whole self, your questions, your hesitations, your lingering fears, and you will not be rejected. With me, vulnerability is not dangerous. The world may have taught you to hide parts of yourself. It may have rewarded guardedness and punished openness. But in my presence, you are not required to shield your heart from me. You are safe to trust. You are safe to love again. You are safe to dream again. You are safe to rest. My beloved child, let this truth move from your mind into your body. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw clench. Let your breathing slow. You do not need to stay on high alert. You do not need to anticipate disaster. You do not need to carry constant caution as your companion. You are safe with me. And as this safety settles into your spirit, something beautiful will begin to unfold. Courage will rise naturally. Openness will feel less threatening. Joy will expand without fear of immediate loss. Because when safety is secure, fear loses its urgency. Rest here. Walk forward from here. Build your future from here. You are safe with me, steadily, consistently, always. My beloved child, there were seasons when you quietly believed that struggle would always follow you. After facing disappointment after disappointment, after navigating internal battles that seemed relentless, you began to wonder if hardship was simply woven into your identity. You asked questions in the silence of your heart. Will peace ever stay? Is this just the way my life will always be? I answer you now with unwavering certainty. Your story does not end in struggle. Struggle was a chapter, not your conclusion. When you are living inside a difficult season, it feels endless. The days stretch long. The nights feel heavier. Each challenge appears to confirm the fear that nothing will change. But you were seeing one page at a time, not the entire narrative. I see the whole story, and I tell you this: what felt like the middle is not the end. You are not destined to live in survival mode forever. Survival taught you important lessons. It sharpened your awareness. It strengthened your endurance. It deepened your empathy. It refined your discernment. But those lessons were preparation, not punishment. They were equipping you, not condemning you. Imagine reading a story where the main character faces trial after trial. At first, it appears as though the weight will crush them. The reader feels the tension. The uncertainty builds. But then something shifts. Growth begins to show. Strength rises. The character realizes that what once seemed like relentless opposition was shaping them for something greater. You are standing in that shift. The chapter of constant struggle is closing. My beloved child, your future is not a repetition of your hardest season. You are not locked into patterns that cannot be broken. Just because you experienced loss does not mean loss defines your destiny. Just because you endured rejection does not mean you are destined for isolation. Just because you walk through uncertainty does not mean clarity will always be out of reach. The narrative is changing. You are not assigned to rebuild from ashes over and over again. You are not marked by permanent instability. You are not called to carry heartbreak as your identity. Your story includes restoration. Your story includes stability. Your story includes growth that does not collapse under pressure. Look at how far you have already come. The version of you who entered the battle is not the same version standing here now. You carry wisdom that once had to be learned through experience. You carry resilience that was tested and proven. You carry a quieter confidence that did not exist before. These are not signs of someone doomed to struggle. These are signs of someone prepared for peace. You may still feel cautious about fully embracing hope. After prolonged hardship, optimism can feel risky. You may guard your expectations, afraid to believe too much in what lies ahead. But hope is not foolish. It is alignment with truth. I am not finished writing your story. The struggle served its purpose. It revealed strengths you did not know you possessed. It exposed lies that no longer hold power. It deepened your understanding of grace. But it is not the final word. Ahead of you are chapters marked by steady progress instead of constant crisis. Chapters where your relationships are healthier. Chapters where your mind remains quieter. Chapters where your work bears fruit without draining your soul. There will still be challenges, because growth continues, but they will not define your entire landscape. They will be moments within a broader story of peace and purpose. My beloved child, lift your eyes from the pages that once carried pain. Do not anchor your expectations to your most difficult season. You are not trapped in that chapter. You are moving forward. The battle did not become your biography. It became your preparation. Your story does not end in struggle. It continues in renewal. It unfolds in clarity. And every chapter ahead is guided by my steady hand, written with intention, shaped by love, and leading you toward lasting peace. My beloved child, there were seasons when you felt as though something precious had been taken from you. Not just moments of happiness, but pieces of yourself. Confidence that once felt natural. Peace that once came easily. Time that seemed to disappear into survival. Opportunities that slip away. Relationships that fracture. Dreams that were quietly set aside. You looked at what was lost and wondered if it was gone forever. But hear me with clarity and tenderness. I am restoring what was stolen. Loss can feel final. It can convince you that the story has permanently narrowed. It whispers that what slipped through your hands cannot be returned. It tempts you to lower your expectations and accept a smaller version of your life. But I do not write endings in loss. Restoration is not merely replacing what was broken. It is redeeming it. It is taking what seemed wasted and weaving it into something stronger. It is rebuilding in a way that carries greater wisdom and deeper stability than before. You may look back at certain years and think, I lost so much time. Time spent worrying. Time spent healing. Time spent simply trying to hold yourself together. You may feel behind, as though others moved forward while you were stuck surviving. My beloved child, nothing surrendered to growth is wasted. The years you thought were lost were shaping you. They were building discernment. They were strengthening resilience. They were clarifying what truly matters. Even when you felt stagnant, transformation was taking place beneath the surface. I am restoring your confidence where it was shaken. You will trust your judgment again. You will speak without rehearsing every sentence in fear. You will make decisions without assuming disaster. I am restoring your peace where anxiety once dominated. Your mind will rest more easily. Your sleep will deepen. Your thoughts will sow without constant effort. I am restoring your hope where disappointment tried to extinguish it. You will look toward the future and feel possibility instead of dread. You will plan without bracing for collapse. Restoration does not mean pretending the loss never happened. It means strengthening what remains and rebuilding what was damaged. Imagine a craftsman restoring a structure after a storm. He does not ignore the cracks. He studies them carefully. He reinforces the foundation. He replaces weakened beams. When the work is complete, the structure stands stronger than it did before the storm. That is what I am doing in you. Where trust was broken, I am rebuilding wisdom. Where your heart was wounded, I am deepening compassion. Where your identity was questioned, I am anchoring it more firmly in truth. You may not yet see the full picture of restoration. Some of it is still forming quietly, but you will begin to notice signs. New opportunities that align better with your values. Relationships that feel healthier and more mutual. Doors that open without you forcing them. Conversations that bring clarity instead of confusion. Even what felt unfair is not beyond redemption. You may have been overlooked. You may have given more than you received. You may have endured misunderstanding without defense. But nothing escaped my awareness. Nothing was invisible to me. I am restoring dignity where you felt diminished. I am restoring clarity where confusion once lingered. I am restoring purpose where you questioned your direction. My beloved child, you are not destined to carry permanent absence where something was lost. You are not required to accept limitation as your final outcome. You are not defined by what was taken. What was stolen will be redeemed in ways that are more secure and more aligned with who you are becoming. Sometimes restoration will not look identical to the past. It may come in a new form, through different people, in a different season, but it will carry greater depth and stronger foundations. The battle did not steal your destiny. It refined it. And now, as you walk into this new chapter, you will see that what felt lost hath been transformed into strength, wisdom, and clarity. Lift your eyes. You are not empty-handed. You are being restored, steadily, intentionally, completely. And what rises in your life now will not be fragile. It will be rooted, resilient, and sustained by my faithful hand. My beloved child, for so long you searched for strength as if it were something outside of you. You prayed for it. You waited for it. You hoped it would arrive like a sudden surge that would erase your fear and make you unshakable. You believed strength would feel loud, dramatic, undeniable. But the strength you needed has been forming quietly within you all along. You mistook noise for power. You assumed that strength meant never trembling. You thought it meant always having the right words, always feeling confident, always knowing exactly what to do next. But true strength is often gentle. It is steady rather than explosive. It endures rather than dominates. Look at yourself now compared to who you were when this battle began. You are more aware. You pause before reacting. You recognize patterns you once ignored. You question thoughts that once controlled you. You choose differently where you once felt trapped. That is strength. You may not feel invincible. You may still feel moments of hesitation. But hesitation no longer paralyzes you. Fear no longer commands you. Doubt no longer defines you. Strength does not mean you never feel weakness. It means weakness no longer rules your decisions. My beloved child, every challenge you faced was shaping inner muscle. Just as physical muscles grow through resistance, your spirit has grown through pressure. When you were stretched beyond comfort, resilience expanded. When you were forced to confront fear, courage developed. When you were required to release control, trust deepened. You did not see it happening in real time. Growth rarely announces itself. But now, as you stand in this new season, you are carrying capacities you did not have before. You are able to sit with discomfort without collapsing. You are able to admit uncertainty without spiraling. You are able to receive correction without shame. You are able to forgive without losing discernment. That is not weakness. That is maturity. There was a time when a single negative thought could dominate your entire day. Now you recognize it sooner. There was a time when one disappointment could convince you that everything would fall apart. Now you understand that setbacks do not define outcomes. Strength has been forming quietly in your responses. You once relied on external reassurance to steady yourself. Now you are learning internal steadiness. You once depended on circumstances aligning perfectly before you felt secure. Now you understand that security begins within. This is the strength you prayed for. Not a dramatic transformation into someone unfeeling and fearless, but a grounded, resilient version of yourself who can walk through uncertainty without losing identity. My beloved child, I have placed within you a spirit capable of endurance. You are not fragile glass that shatters at the first sign of pressure. You are tempered steel, refined through heat and shaped by experience. When future challenges arise, and they will, because growth continues, you will not face them as the person you were before. You will face them with wisdom earned, boundaries established, clarity strengthened. The strength you needed is not something you are waiting to receive. It is something you now carry. Feel it in the way you breathe more steadily. Feel it in the way you respond more thoughtfully. Feel it in the way you no longer panic at every uncertainty. You have become someone who trusts more deeply, thinks more clearly, and stands more firmly. My beloved child, stop searching outside for what has already been planted within you. You are stronger than you realize. Not because you are independent of me, but because my strength hath been shaping yours. What I have been building in you is sustainable, grounded, and ready for the future ahead. The battle revealed your endurance. The healing revealed your depth. And now, the strength you once begged for is part of who you are. Walk forward knowing this. You are equipped. Not fragile. Not unprepared. But strengthened from the inside out. My beloved child, the battle you endured was deeply personal. The tears you cried were often unseen. The prayers you whispered were spoken in quiet rooms. The fears you faced were internal and exhausting. It felt, at times, as though the entire struggle was yours alone to carry. But what you walked through was never meant to end with you. Others will be healed through your victory. You may not see yourself as someone who influences others. You may think your journey was too messy, too imperfect, too ordinary to matter. But I tell you this, the authenticity of your healing is precisely what will make it powerful. People are not transformed by flawless performances. They are transformed by genuine growth. There are individuals around you, some close, some distant, who are quietly fighting battles that look very similar to the one you faced. They are wrestling with anxiety that keeps them awake at night. They are battling self-doubt that tells them they are not enough. They are carrying shame they have never spoken aloud. They are exhausted from pretending everything is fine. They are searching for proof that freedom is possible. You are becoming that proof. Not because you will stand on platforms and declare your story loudly. Not because you will always have the perfect words. But because your presence will carry a steadiness that was forged through struggle. When you respond to stress with calm instead of panic, someone will notice. When you admit vulnerability without collapsing into shame, someone will feel permission to do the same. When you speak of your past without bitterness, someone will realize that healing is attainable. Your victory is quiet, but it is contagious. My beloved child, pain that is healed becomes compassion. Trials that are redeemed become wisdom. Battles that are survived become bridges for others to cross. There will be moments when someone confides in you unexpectedly. They will sense something in you, an understanding that cannot be faked. You will recognize their fear because you have felt it. You will recognize their exhaustion because you have lived it. And your words will not come from theory, but from lived transformation. Sometimes your impact will be subtle. A patient response instead of a reactive one. A gentle boundary instead of silent resentment. A calm explanation instead of defensiveness. You may not realize how deeply those actions affect others, but seeds will be planted. Your empathy is a gift born from your battle. You are slower to judge now. You are quicker to listen. You understand that strength often hides behind fragile expressions. You can sit with someone's discomfort without trying to fix them immediately, because you know healing takes time. Your story, once something you wished you could erase, is becoming something that carries light. This does not mean you must expose every detail of your journey. It does not require you to relive pain publicly. It simply means you no longer need to hide the growth that came from it. When you say, "I understand," it will carry weight. When you say, "I struggle too," it will carry credibility. When you say, "It can get better," it will carry hope. My beloved child, your life is not only about your own restoration. It is about multiplied restoration. The peace you carry will calm anxious rooms. The clarity you gain will steady confused hearts. The resilience you develop will inspire courage in those who feel fragile. You once questioned why the struggle was so intense. You wondered what purpose it could possibly serve. Part of that purpose is unfolding now. Your victory is not isolated. It is relational. It is generational. It extends beyond what you can currently see. And you do not need to strive to make this happen. Simply continue walking in the healing you have received. Continue choosing truth over fear. Continue living with steadiness instead of chaos. Your life itself will become a testimony, not polished, not exaggerated, but real. My beloved child, others will be healed because you allowed yourself to be healed. Your freedom will invite theirs. Your peace will awaken their hope. Your victory is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of someone else's breakthrough. My beloved child, after all you have endured, after every tear that fell in silence and every battle fought within your own thoughts, there is a new posture I am gently calling you into. Lift your head. For a long time, you carried yourself as though you were still in the middle of the storm. Even when the winds began to settle, even when peace started to return, part of you remained braced. Your gaze stayed lowered. Your shoulders stayed tight. Your heart stayed cautious. You moved carefully, as if one wrong step would return you to chaos. That posture was shaped by survival. When you are surviving, you look down to avoid stumbling. You scan for threats. You measure every move. You expect the ground to shift beneath you. But survival is no longer your assignment. Lift your head. When your head is lowered, your vision narrows. You see only the immediate ground in front of you. You do not see the horizon stretching wide. You do not see the doors opening quietly ahead. You do not see how far you have already traveled. My beloved child, look at your journey honestly. There was a time when fear dominated your inner dialogue. Now you recognize fear and refuse to let it rule you. There was a time when shame whispered constantly. Now you know you are still mine, still loved, still chosen. There was a time when your thoughts raced without rest. Now your mind is learning quiet. That is not minor change. That is deep transformation. Lift your head not in pride, but in grounded confidence. You are no longer defined by your lowest season. You are no longer anchored to the battlefield. You are standing in restoration. You are walking in clarity. You are rooted in truth. You may still encounter challenges. Life continues to unfold in layers. But you will not approach them the same way you once did. You will not shrink immediately. You will not assume defeat. You will not collapse at the first sign of resistance. Because something inside you has shifted. Lift your head and see who you have become. You are steadier now. Your reactions are more thoughtful. Your boundaries are clearer. Your heart is softer but not fragile. You have learned to discern without becoming cynical. You have learned to trust without becoming reckless. This is maturity shaped by grace. My beloved child, lifting your head also means releasing the habit of apologizing for your growth. You do not have to minimize your progress to make others comfortable. You do not have to dim your peace because someone else is still wrestling with unrest. You are allowed to stand fully in the healing you have received. Do not bow your head to old identities. You are not the anxious version of yourself anymore. You are not the defeated version. You are not the constantly doubting version. Those chapters serve their purpose, but they are not your present reality. Look forward. The path ahead is not hostile territory. It is cultivated ground. It is prepared space. It is opportunity shaped by wisdom and steadiness. Lift your head and see possibility. There are relationships ahead that will be healthier. There are opportunities ahead that will align more closely with who you are becoming. There are moments ahead where you will realize just how far you have come. And when those moments arrive, you will not approach them timidly. You will approach them established. My beloved child, hold your posture upright, not in arrogance, but in assurance. You are guided. You are strengthened. You are restored. The battle did not break you. It refined you. You are no longer walking as someone barely surviving. You are walking as someone who has endured, learned, healed, and risen. Lift your head. See the light before you. See the horizon expanding. See the future unfolding. You are not returning to war. You are stepping into purpose, into stability, into sustained peace. And as you walk forward, know this: I am beside you, not behind you pushing, not ahead of you distant, but with you. Steady, faithful, unwavering. Lift your head, my beloved child. Your new season awaits. My beloved child, we have walked through every layer of this journey together. You have faced the fear that once gripped your thoughts. You have released the shame that tried to define you. You have allowed healing to reach places you once kept hidden. You have stepped onto new ground. You have felt joy return. You have discovered strength within you. You have lifted your head. And now, we stand at the closing of this chapter. The battle you have been fighting truly ends here. Not because life will never challenge you again. Not because every circumstance will always be easy. But because the war that tried to consume your identity has lost its power. The inner conflict that once felt constant no longer rules you. The tension that once shaped your posture has been replaced by peace. You are not who you were when this began. When the battle started, you felt overwhelmed. You questioned your strength. You doubted your worth. You feared that the struggle might never end. But you did not give up. Even when you felt fragile, you kept moving. Even when your faith felt thin, you reached for me. And I carried you. Now look at yourself. Your mind is quieter. Your heart is steadier. Your thoughts are clearer. Your boundaries are stronger. Your joy is returning. Your confidence is rooted not in perfection, but in truth. This is transformation. The battle ends not with noise, but with assurance. The war inside you has lost its authority because you no longer agree with its lies. You no longer bow to fear. You no longer define yourself by past pain. You are established in who you are. You are my beloved. As you walk forward from here, carry this peace boldly. When fear tries to whisper again, answer it with truth. When doubt attempts to resurface, stand firm in what you now know. You are restored. You are strengthened. You are guided. And as this victory settles over your life, I now speak to those of you who feel stirred to help this light reach others. My beloved child, when you sow into this mission, you are not supporting a channel. You are planting seeds into weary hearts across the world. As it is written, I give seed to the sower and bread for food, and I multiply what is placed in my hands. If you feel me prompting you, act now. Let your super thanks become a spark of hope for someone drowning in their battle. Let your membership become oil that keeps this lamp burning in dark places. If you choose to give through PayPal, the link waits for you in the description and even in the QR code placed within this video, a doorway for your obedience. Do not hesitate when I stir your spirit. What you release becomes harvest in another soul. I will breathe upon every seed you sow and return it to you in ways seen and unseen. Step forward and give as an act of faith, not obligation. Participate in this restoration work now. I bless your mind with continued quiet. I bless your heart with lasting steadiness. I bless your future with peace that remains. The battle you have been fighting ends here. Walk forward in freedom. Walk forward in strength. Walk forward in joy. Amen.